I am so excited to share the Embrace Your Shadow Workbook with you today. This is a transformative experience for you to discover the truth behind your desires and to move closer to your authentic self. You can sign up for it free of charge. And in this episode, I will guide you through the whole workbook and even share with you a personal example of how to apply the tool that is included in this workbook. Let's dive in. In last week's episode, I shared with you how I went deep into my subconscious mind and uncovered some uncomfortable truth. I realized that some of you might want to use the same process to discover new parts of yourself, especially if these parts are standing in the way of your dream future. That's why I created the Embrace Your Shadow Workbook that describes and leads you through the exact process I have gone through in my Me retreat just over a week ago. If you've ever felt stuck or uncertain about your desires, maybe unsure if they are the right ones and how to make them a reality, then you are in the right place. This workbook is designed to be your guide, your companion, and your tool for getting crystal clear on who you are and what you want. Imagine living a life where you see your dreams not just as a possibility, but as a preview of the reality you are destined to create. Imagine waking up each day with a clear sense of purpose, knowing exactly who you are and what you want from life. This is not just a fantasy. It's a potential reality that you get to create. The secret lies in clarity. Clarity about who you are and what is currently hidden in the shadow. It will set you free and you can choose and create the life of your dreams. So I created this workbook to guide you through a simple yet profound process to gain the crystal clarity you need to create the path to your desired future. In this episode, I will walk you through the 3 parts of the workbook, and later on, I will share with you a personal example of using the Shadow Self tool, which is the second part of the workbook. We always learn best from others, don't we? So I thought to include an example for you would be good to help you apply it to yourself. And the question is, of course, how do you get this workbook? You can sign up for it for free under www.𝗪𝗛𝗪𝗛𝗪𝗛𝗪/Embrace Your Shadow in just one word. As soon as you sign up, you will have access to it and can get started straight away. You might even want to hit pause now on this episode, get yourself the workbook, and come back to me once you have it ready to use. You can either print it, like I have done, or use it as a fillable PDF on your computer. It's your choice. So let's talk about part 1. Connect to your true desires. In this section, you will dive deep into your core desires, stripping away as well those societal influences and external expectations. Through guided exercises, you will gain clarity on what you truly want, allowing you to connect with your authentic self. You would be surprised by how little people truly know what they actually want. Often we know exactly what we don't want, right? But if somebody asks us, so what do you really want? A lot of us will probably go, oh, I don't exactly know. I don't want to pin myself down. Let me think about it. So that's why this is part 1 of the workbook, to help you in this process to get clarity around what you truly want to create in your life. Take the time to become crystal clear, okay? And if you find it challenging to think about what you want, try thinking about what you don't want, and then hone in on the opposite of that. Polarity creates as well clarity. Another tip I have for you is what you want is hidden in your complaints. So think about what you find yourself always complaining about or wishing that it were different. The desire for what you actually want is hidden within that complaint. And then I invite you to get specific. Getting specific about your desires can be a helpful step in this process. For instance, if you want a new job, think about the industry, the exact role, the company culture, the location, and the kind of colleagues that you wish to work with. Specificity helps you visualize your goals clearly and enhances your focus on achieving them. But don't get hung up on them either. For some, being more general about the details of their vision might be okay, and then be more specific about how you want to feel when your desires becomes reality. That might be more helpful. So maybe you don't know what kind of job you actually want to have, but you know exactly how you want to feel when you have it, or what kind of pay you want, or the schedule that you want to have in that job. Lean into what feels good throughout this part of the workbook, and most importantly, have fun with it. The more fun you bring to this process, the more powerful it gets. Then let's move on to part 2. Finding the truth in the shadow. The second part of this workbook introduces the Shadow Self tool, a powerful method to uncover the hidden motivations behind your desires. And it's starting with the 5 why method. And by exploring deeper layers of your subconscious mind, you will identify the underlying needs and blocks that may be holding you back. This is what I shared with you in last week's episode, where I ended up in a very uncomfortable place, having to face a fact about myself that did not look very pretty. But only when we discover these hidden parts of us that are hiding in the shadow of ourselves can we truly move on and then create the life we truly want. So I invite you to be brave and to face yourself in this process. The Shadow Self tool starts first with the 5 why method, which is a powerful system thinking tool to help you dig deeper and uncover the core reason behind the things that you want or think that you want. It was actually created by 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗙 layers uncover the root cause of a particular problem. And it's now taught in business schools and universities and in engineering programs around the world. It is also referred to as a root cause analysis. When I used it recently in the workbook by 𝗪𝗛𝗔𝗪𝗧, I realized that there are further layers of myself to discover after having asked myself why 5 times. If I stay on that level of just finishing with the 5th why, I will never get to where I want to go. These additional layers, they include my shadow self, right? That's what we're talking about here. And it incorporates as well what is hidden or not so hidden, maybe even in my ego. And all of that is, of course, in the subconscious mind. So being able to even go deeper than I have ever done before allows me to move closer to my authentic self. And please remember, while applying the Shadow Self tool, that you are safe, you are secure, and you are loved. Whatever you discover is not the true you. It's going to be a part of your ego, about societal programming and unconscious belief systems that you collected throughout your whole life. And you locked it away into the shadow self, and now we are getting to see it. So what you discover is ready to be changed and let go of. It would not be shown to you in this exercise if you weren't ready. So you are ready for this, okay? And like I said, in a few minutes, I will share with you an example of how to use the Shadow Self tool. But first, let's talk about the third and last part of the workbook. Part 3 of the workbook is integrate to move forward. In the final part, you will learn how to integrate your newfound insights using techniques like forgiveness, emotional release, and intention setting. These practices will help you to let go of the attachment that you might have to various parts of those insights that you just discovered in the previous part of the workbook. And then for you to move forward with a clearer vision of your true self and your desires. At this point in the workbook, you are totally ready to integrate the insight that you just received about yourself. And integrating doesn't mean that you have to keep it, okay? But given it is part of you, you don't want to create now resistance to it. Once you integrate this part of you, however that will look like for you, you will be able to move on without attachment to it. Just imagine that this insight that you have just been given has been a hidden block in your subconscious mind and stopped you from bringing your dreams into reality. Can you feel gratitude for this discovery as you can now integrate it and move forward freely? This is the gift that you have been waiting for. Integration of this discovery can happen in various ways, but in this workbook, I provide you with my personal top 3 tools that I use when I go through this kind of inner work. Try out each one of those, minimum once, so you can decide which one you prefer. But next time you use the Shadow Self tool for another desire in your life, the integration might look different every time, okay? So make sure to experience all 3 tools to be able to provide yourself with the best tool in each situation. And for each of the tools, I even have a dedicated guided meditation for you on my YouTube channel that helps you with this step in the process. So don't worry if you don't know how to do certain things. I will take you by the hand and guide you through the step-by-step process during these meditations. And once you complete this part of the workbook, the 3rd part, you will have integrated a part of you that you were not even aware of at the beginning. Imagine how many more parts exist for you to integrate. In part 1 of the workbook, you actually create so many more desires to which you can now apply the Shadow Self tool again and again. But take your time and don't rush this process. You are moving significant amounts of energy while going through this exercise. At the same time, I don't want you to ever think that you are done. There is always more to integrate and let go of. This is a lifelong journey. So this is what you've been waiting for. My example using the Shadow Self tool, which is part 2 of the workbook. The first step in this tool is the 5 why method, which I mentioned to you already, explained to you, and actually talked you through as well in the last episode. I talked you through an example that was from the 𝗪𝗛𝗔𝗧 workbook, and then I gave you my own example of the uncomfortable situation that resulted out of it. I took now a different situation, a different desire, that I did write down last week. So I actually went through these 5 whys already last week, but the rest of the Shadow Self tool I didn't do last week. So I did it literally just before recording this episode now. So let me talk you through my desire and the 5 whys for you to find out what comes out at the end. So you start with the desire, the want. It literally stands here. So my desire that I've written down is I want to earn millions with my business. Then you get to ask yourself, why do you want that? And then you will have a think about what is behind that wish, what is behind that want, right? So for me, that was so I can invest money in people and their businesses that help to improve the human race. That is my why behind it. But that is not where it stops. You will ask yourself many more whys and dig deeper. So the next why answer for me was too much money is with selfish people and businesses, and I want to shift this. This is my next why. The next one is so we can create a better place to live for everyone and make this the new norm. Then the second last why is to make it normal that spiritual people and businesses can be successful and make lots of money. I want that for myself. And then the last why is I want to free myself and others from this old way of thinking that you can't be spiritual and wealthy. So the last why is kind of like the first level of the root cause. I describe it as the need. That is the need behind the want. So this is the first step in the Shadow Self tool. Then we're going to move on to the second step. Now that I discovered the need behind my want and my desire, I am asked to describe the lack that I'm experiencing. Therefore, if there is a need, it means that I'm experiencing a lack. So what lack am I trying to fill with this want or need? What is it that I'm trying to solve with the want and need? That is the first question in that second step. And here is my answer. The need is to feel free from the old way of thinking about money and wealth. So the lack that I experience is that I am not free of it. That's what I'm trying to solve for myself. So the lack is I am not free from the old way of thinking about money and wealth. So that is my answer to that question. The next question then is, or invitation really, is, you know by now that we are creating our own reality. So if we find something in our lives that we want to change, we first have to accept that we created it. It means that you have created this lack in your life, or better, that I have created this lack in my life. For me to be able to go further in this process, I want to write down that I accept that I created this lack and how this makes me feel. So I've written down here in the second question, I accept that I created the lack, that I am not free from this old way of thinking. I created this reality where I don't feel that I can escape this old way of thinking. I fully accept that I created this. And I actually forgot to say how it makes me feel. But in that moment, if I remember back just a couple of hours, it makes me feel a little bit confused. Probably seeing for the first time that I created this lack. And with acceptance, of course, as well, comes a little bit of discomfort. So I guess my feelings around this were confusion and discomfort. So then the last question in this step is, if I can accept that I created this lack in my life, I have created an unconscious program or a habit or an addiction of creating this lack in my life. And I should ask myself, why? Why did I create this habit? Why do I still keep it in my life to this day? And what am I getting out of it, holding on to it? Very deep questions. So here's my answer. I kept this lack of not feeling free to allow myself to see myself as a victim. If I am the victim of this old way of thinking about money and wealth, then I don't need to do anything about it, right? I don't need to be anything differently. I don't need to do anything about it because I'm a victim. I get to blame society, my upbringing, all sorts of other people for this situation or for this thinking. And it's just easier to be the victim. That is a big revelation when you're faced with the realization that you think that you're a victim. Obviously, not really what I want to hear, but what I need to hear. So this is the step in the tool where you get to see a new part of you, a part that is not really new, that has always been with you or for a very long time, but has been in the shadow of yourself. So now that you've discovered this, I discovered this, I move on to the third step in the Shadow Self tool. And it says, whatever you just discovered in the last question is not who you truly are. Still, I want you to look at it and accept that you created this part of yourself. It doesn't matter why and when. What matters is that you accept it. Only then can you change it. Do you accept this part of you that lived in the shadow so far? And my answer is, of course, yes. I accept that I took the easy way out by playing the victim. I didn't know that what I was doing, that I was even doing it. But I can see now that I subconsciously chose to do it instead of taking ownership of my thinking. Then the next step is, or the next invitation again is, yes, this can feel uncomfortable, writing all of this down, right? And it should. Otherwise, you have not gone deep enough. Only by feeling uncomfortable do you know that you have moved outside of your comfort zone and are in the area of growth and development. So the question is, do you feel uncomfortable? And my answer is yes, very much so. I never want to see myself as a victim. I never wanted to do that, right? It's like, no, I'm not a victim, but here I am. But realizing that there are areas in my life where I am acting like a victim is just shocking. And at the same time, I'm grateful to have found it and discovered it, right? Now I can actually do something about it. So there you have it. This was my own example on how to use the Shadow Self tool. And then, of course, in part 3 of the workbook, you get all the help to know what to do next. Obviously, finishing the workbook and all of those exercises within is just the beginning. Once you have done it for one area of your life or one desire, you can do it time and time again. And I hope you feel inspired to try out the Shadow Self tool and sign up for this workbook. Head over to www.𝗪𝗛𝗪𝗛𝗪𝗛𝗪/Embrace Your Shadow, or click just the link in the video description below. And I can't wait for you to experience this transformative exercise for yourself. And I'm very proud of you. And with that, I love you. And remember, I am always here for you. Talk soon and bye-bye.